We talked of sustainable development. We talked what were the steps to develop the sustainable raw materials which are present, how to save the environment. Now for those things, there are various laws, there are various acts, there are various policies which are made by various countries, the World Development Corporation or the environmental boards all over the world. Now in 1972, the first conference on human environment was there in Sweden in 1972. 113 countries took part in that. What they discussed in that was how to create the awareness among the various people of different countries, how to conserve the environment. What are the human activities in relationship to the environment and how these activities can actually help the environment to conserve. The conference also acknowledged that the goal of the reducing the human activities or human input in the environment would require international intervention. International intervention means the people all over the world should try to act towards it to conserve the environment. So in this conference, one organization called as United Nations Environmental Program. Now this type of organization was there, which was United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. They set up, this was launched, and they set up some type of objectives in front of the conference. 113 countries took part and they set up some objectives over it. United Nations Environmental Program or Environment Program. What they set the objectives for all the other countries were, first, to encourage the international participation. They wanted more and more countries to come forward with their problems, how to solve them, what are the problems their countries are facing, and so they wanted to encourage the various international participation and cooperation. They wanted participation, they wanted cooperation in various environmental issues and the environmental policies which are being followed in their country. Second, monitoring the status of global environment. Now, global environment, this was an organization or this was the conference where they were talking globally. So this monitoring the status, what is the status of a particular country, what is the status of particular area or the environment based status they wanted to know, and therefore they were trying to interpret the environmental issues, and for that they were collecting the environmental data which every country can provide. Then creating environmental awareness. As I said, this is the most important part. People should be made aware about the problems in the environment, how the pollution is created in the environment, how the environment is getting degraded, and what will be its effect on the future generation. This was thought of, and the awareness programs were formulated, were made there. And the private sector, government, society, how they can take part in creating the awareness program. Fourth, coordinating UN activities. United Nations organization. This is a United Nations organization, is a world organization which looks towards various types of activities. So they wanted the coordination of the United Nations activities with the environmental board. So with whatever was activities were related to environment, they wanted to coordinate with the other policies which are made by the various countries. Then developing regional programs. Now what regional programs? When I say region, I am talking about different places all over the world. Some must be in Arctic region, some must be in medieval region, some must be in the Antarctic region, some must be in northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. So they have different regions, they have different problems, different issues. So this, every region wise they wanted to develop the regional programs. Then helping environmental authorities. Now whoever is coming in front, that means whoever wanted to do something for the environment, whichever country was a developing country and they wanted to do something for the environment, they were ready to help those authorities, those societies, those people, those countries. They were ready to help them to create the awareness and to help the environment to remain clean. And lastly, to helping to develop international environment law. They wanted to bring some law, some act, some policies, so that people are also aware of them, that if they are not following the rules, they are not following the act, they are not following the law, they might get punishment for that, and that may create awareness among other people. These were the objectives of United Nations Environmental Protection Body. Now there were some directives given, or directive principles of state policy. Now we talk of India, there are lot of laws and there are lot of acts and policies which are present in our constitution. I am just going to give you some idea about the various laws, various acts. Directive principles of state policy. In 1976, the Constitution of India was amended, and in that one article 48A and 49, these two articles are very important. What do they say? It states, the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife. First time in India in 1972, something was done, some act was done, some law was done for the environment, for the wildlife. And this 48A and 49 article was very important. What does 49 article says? Protection of monuments and places and objects of national importance. It shall be the obligation of the state to protect every monument. Now, they are trying to save the environment, they are also trying to save the monuments, old monuments which are there for centuries. Those monuments have to be safeguarded. They carry a history with them, and that monument should not be destroyed. So these two things, 48A and 49 articles, are very important, which are related to our environment. As a citizen of India, what is our fundamental duty? Now this fundamental duties are given in article 51A. The 51A gives us our duties, our fundamental duties, as to what every citizen of India is expected to do. What does it state? It states that it should be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment. What is natural environment? Including the forest, lakes, rivers, wildlife, plants, and have compassion for living creatures. That means it is our fundamental duty to safeguard the animals, plants, the small living creatures, our lakes, our water bodies. All the things should be safeguarded by every citizen of India. This was article 51A. Why I am mentioning the articles? Because in the exam point of view, you may be asked, what is article 48A? What is 49 article? What does 51A article tells us about our fundamental duty? So when I am telling you the articles, you have to learn the states of that article. Article 51A also states that it should be the duty of every citizen to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. That means we have to pay respects to our culture, whichever culture was being followed, whatever monuments are there, whatever the cultural things are preserved, it is our duty to preserve them. Thus, Indian Constitution is one of the few national constitutions in the whole world in which the specific provisions are there for environment conservation. Not all constitutions of the world have included in their articles like this. Later on, this Department of Environment was established in India. A separate department for environment was made, and that was in 1980. And later, this was called as Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985. So a separate ministry is only made, a minister is made for saving the environment, for conservation of your environment. Now, what are various guidelines given by our constitution? Our government of India has given various guidelines to save this environment. What are these guidelines? These guidelines are for prevention, protection, abatement of pollution, prevention of pollution, control of pollution and abatement of pollution. How to prevent it, how to control it and how to put law for controlling that pollution. These are in lines with the decision of United Nations Conference which was held in Stockholm. They have, based on this, they have made various laws. The first law is Water Act. Water Act which was made in 1974, which is the prevention and control and which comes under prevention and control under pollution. What is Water Act? The Water Act defines water pollution and water quality standards. Now this, under the Water Act, what does it define? It defines that what is water pollution and what are the quality standards which the water should have for drinking purpose. It describes penalties to the offenders. Now if anyone is found to spoil the water standards, he or she can be fined for it, can be given a punishment for that. What is the objective of this Water Act? To make an act, there should be some objective by the government of India. So what is the objective of this act? First, the objective was to prevent and control water pollution. How I can prevent pollution, how I can control the water pollution. Water pollution is a big issue nowadays. Water in Ganga river, the purest form of river which we know as the purest form, that is also becoming so polluted. There are so many reasons for it. The reasons being the industrialization, urbanization, people are not using it properly, indiscriminate use of water. Second objective was to maintain or restore the wholesomeness of water, to maintain the quality of water. There should be some act on it so the quality of water remains. As I gave the example of Ganga, Ganga water was considered was so pure that people used to use it directly for cooking, for other purposes. But now Ganga water is full of pollutants and this is bringing down its standard. Whatever the standard of water is required for consuming, it is not up to the mark. And third objective was to establish board for prevention and control of water pollution. Now water pollution is a national issue nowadays. Every state, every district have water bodies. How to save them? How to control pollution? So they have to make some boards, some people who will be responsible for controlling the water pollution. And these were the three major objectives of Water Act. For meeting these objectives, the Act has constituted a Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB. What is CPCB? CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. Centralized, this is the board which is made by the central government, Central Pollution Control Board. Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB. This was made and the Maharashtra government also started with this under the central government, and that is known as MPCB. Maharashtra government started with MPCB. Now what is MPCB? Maharashtra Pollution Control Board. This was Central Pollution Control Board because this is under the central government. When we talk about our state, that is Maharashtra, Maharashtra Pollution Control Board. So MPCB, it's very important because many times it is asked, what type of board do our state have when related to Water Act? So Water Act, MPCB, the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board is responsible for the Water Act. Now what is the function of MPCB, Maharashtra Pollution Control Board? There are various functions. Now I'll just explain you the functions. The first, to plan the comprehensive program for the prevention, control and abatement of pollution. The same as the central board has. First, to plan out the policies, plan out the program, how to control the water pollution, how not to allow it to increase, how to prevent it, and how the law can be enforced on it. This is the first function. Second function, to inspect sewage or trade effluent treatment plant. When we get water in our taps, actually it is passing through the water purification plant. This water purification plant is under MPCB. They have to monitor always or inspect whether the sewage plant or the water plant which is sending the water is regularly working or not. This is one of the functions. Third function, to support and encourage the development in the field of pollution control. That we have to separate. Now the pollution control board, this is also responsible for supporting the various types of policies made, encouraging people to bring the pollution under control and use the eco-friendly ways, the efficient ways of raw materials. Fourth one, to educate and guide the entrepreneurs. Now, who is an entrepreneur? A person who is entering in the field of business, he should be made aware that whatever business you are doing, it should not hamper the pollution. It should not hamper the environment. It should not increase the pollution of the environment. So proper pollution control things should be used by the entrepreneurs, so that whenever they are setting up new industry, the pollution is not increased in the environment. Fifth one, to create the public awareness. Most important function of MPCB, to create awareness. People should know, should understand what is the importance of environment in our life. If the environment is pollution free, how good our life will be. This awareness has to be created by the people, and this board is doing that work. Now, is to do all these functions, are they given any powers? Yes, MPCB has been given lot of powers by Maharashtra government. What are the powers of MPCB? First, implementation of environmental laws. Some laws are made, implement it. If MPCB is telling that this has to be done according to law, it has to be done. That means implementation of that law should be done. They have that power to get it done very fast. Secondly, laying down standards and securing their compliance. Whatever standard level they have set, that means if they say the pollution should be under control under this level only, then they have all the powers to punish that person or the industry or any people or any number of people who are actually not following it. Third, their powers are to inspect and monitor all the sources of pollution. They can inspect, they can monitor, they can tell people that this source is not good, or from here the pollution is increasing. So they have all rights, all powers to inspect anytime. Fourth, issuance of notices. They can issue notice to any industries, any factory, any other person who is found guilty of increasing the pollution because of their activities. So they can issue the notices. Next, their power also includes the closure of defaulter unit. If they feel that this unit of factory or industry is not going according to the standards laid by them, they can close it. They have the power to seal that factory, to seal that industry, and or to give them punishment if they are not according to the law. And lastly, prosecution in case of serious violation. If you are violating the law, if you are breaking the law, this MPCB has the whole right to break that, to punish that person who is violating the law. So this is very important. MPCB is an important board, Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, who has got various objectives in front of them, various functions in front of them, and they have also got various powers to do that. Once the power is given to this type of board, many people are scared to do, and the law is on the side of this board. Another act which was given in the Constitution of India was the Air Act. That means it comes under Prevention and Control of Pollution. Air Act, it came in 1981. Water Act came in 1974, and now we are talking about Air Act. So Air Act was implemented in 1981. What does it say? The Air Act was enacted by Parliament in 1981. What is the objective of this act? Now obviously we are talking about the air, the environment surrounding us, the atmosphere surrounding us. So first objective was to provide, again same, to provide for prevention, control and abatement of the law. Whether we are able to control the pollution of air, whether the law is enforced or not. Second, to preserve the quality of air. The air which we breathe, which is so important for us, that quality has to be maintained. That amount of pollutants will hamper our health. Third, to establish boards. How they establish the board for Water Act? They can establish the board for the Air Act also. So establish boards for prevention of air pollution. So they made a board which also came under CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board. This board can, now what are the powers of this central board which actually implemented the Air Act? The board can declare air pollution control area and prohibit use of any fuel. Now this board has the whole right to see the areas where too much pollution is increased, and they can actually name that area as too polluted area. That is the power which the board has. Second, laying down standards and securing the compliance. As in the water case, same. Standards should be maintained. The quality of air should be maintained. Third, same like Water Act, inspection and monitoring of the board. Inspection of all the sources of pollution from where the air is getting polluted. Then they all also have power to issue notices to any of the entrepreneurs or the factories or the industries or an individual person who is trying to pollute the air. Then also they have the power to stop the regulation of electricity, water or any other services for defaulters. Those who default the law, those who go against the law, they can stop their activity. And finally, they can close the unit which is responsible for air pollution. These are the powers of CPCB pollution, the Central Pollution Control Board. Another act was there which is called as Environment Act, Environment Protection Act. Now here, as the name suggests, this act was basically made for protecting the environment. This was made in 1986. It was made after the famous Bhopal gas tragedy. In Bhopal in 1986, a very poisonous gas was leaking from a factory, and that gas killed around 20,000 people. After that tragedy, this Environment Pollution Protection Act came into being. What were the powers of central government for these type of acts which are made? Now various measures the government has taken for protection of a quality of environment. Environment Protection Act. First, the planning and execution of nationwide programs. They are planning, and once the plan is made, they are trying to execute it in various states of India to prevent, control and abate the pollution or environment pollution. Second, again, setting the standards for protection of environment. Third, laying down the standards for different regions. Fourth, the laying down the procedures. That means some procedures have to be followed, and then safeguard them against the hazardous material. And fifth, assessing the manufacturing process. whatever manufacturing is going on in industries and factories, it has to be inspected by this such type of boards, or the central government have every right to do that. And restricting areas in which the industries and other establishments are set up. That means various types of industries are coming up, and those areas are restricted by the government of India if it feels that it is increasing the problem for environment. Another rule which was given in 1989, that is a hazardous waste. That means so much waste is coming out right from household to all the factories. So how to manage this waste? Another rules were set up in 1989, and this rules came on July 28, 1989. What were the objectives? To identify which waste is hazardous. Hazardous means, the word hazardous means whether it is having a serious problem to the human beings and animals and other organisms on this earth. To enable the authorities to control handling, how the authorities can handle, whether the handling is done properly or not, whether the treatment, transport of the waste is done properly or not, whether it is creating more pollution than required. And thirdly, the objective was to define procedures for registration of recyclers or reprocessors. Recycling things and reprocessing things need registration with central government, and that has to be done, and this was one of the objective, to see and watch whether this type of registration is done or not. We saw the Water Act, we saw the Air Act, we saw the Hazardous Waste rules, and now we are seeing the Noise Pollution Act. This is one of the another major pollution which is created by sound. Unpleasant sound is called noise. It can be anything, right from the vehicle which is making so much noise, to the drilling machine, to your shouting. When children shout, that also is creating a noise. So the Noise Pollution Act was made in 2000 year. This was also the increasing amount of sound in the air due to public systems, due to the vehicles, due to the factories, due to the industries, the generators, then the music systems, horns, then other mechanical devices, all are responsible for increasing the amount of sound in air, and that is also one of the reason people are getting problems in their hearing. They get partial impairment in hearing or complete deafness also. So for that there are some restrictions given by the government of India as well as the Maharashtra government. The license has to be taken to use loudspeakers. Now you must have seen in all the festivals like Ganpati, Diwali and other festivals, loudspeakers are being used. For that they should have a license with the state government, otherwise they cannot make use of loudspeakers. These loudspeakers are not allowed during the night time, that is from 10 o'clock in the night to 6 o'clock in the morning. That is against the rules. If you find anyone playing loudspeakers after that, you can actually complain to the police. These systems are not allowed in silent zones. What are silent zones? A silent zone is defined as the area which of not less than 100 meters around hospitals, around educational institutes and around court, where the important things are going on. Around the hospitals, 100 meters that is called as silent zone. You cannot use your horns there. No big vehicles can pass near it. Why? Because it is creating large amount of sound pollution. Biomedical waste. This is another act. It's a very important act or very important rule which was put in 1998. So many hospitals, so many clinics, so many doctors are using many types of medicines, many types of injections which are used and which are thrown away also. That is called as biomedical waste. This biomedical waste, if used by a person who is unknown to this, it can cause serious diseases. That's one of the reason of spreading of AIDS also, is the injection which are just thrown away, those needles which are thrown away, they are used by various people who are actually trying to steal away the things, who are drug addicts. They also use these type of needles thrown away. They are spreading diseases like this. Many of the medical wastes are going in the ground and spoiling the quality of groundwater. So biomedical waste have to be disposed of very, very carefully, and that is why this type of act or rules came in 1998. These rules apply to all people who generate such type of waste, who collect such type of waste, who receive waste, who store this waste, who transport this waste, and who treat or dispose of this waste. Right from the people who create, right from the people who carry, right from the people who store, and right from the people who dispose of. This is very important. They have to follow strictly the rules. All the steps should be taken by the people who are handling such biomedical waste. And lastly, the e-waste. As I have said, what is e-waste? E-waste is the electronic waste which is coming from the manufacturers who are manufacturing mobile phones, then TVs, ACs, washing machine, laptop, fax machine, printers. This rule also came in 2011, very lately in May 2011, and it states that it is the responsibility of the producers and the manufacturers of electrical appliances who have to see how to dispose of such type of e-waste. And these are the various acts, various rules which are actually supporting, which are made for supporting the conservation of environment, and which are very important for every person to follow it. Every industrialist, every entrepreneur, every common man has to follow various rules and act which has been given by Constitution of India, so that we can conserve our environment, we can make our environment friendly, we can make our environment very safe place to live on this earth. Hello students, welcome back. Now we had done this whole lesson number 15 of EVS, striving for a better environment. We have studied how the environment can be conserved by various methods. The Government of India also has made various laws, and we went through the different laws one by one. So this is a concept map which I have drawn in this map in the board, and we can just go through in short. This is a flow chart which will make you understand the whole lesson in short. Now, renewable energy source. When we talk of renewable energy source, what is renewable? The energy source which can be renewed from time to time. This type of energy source is very efficiently used for eco-development, or the development or the conservation of our environment. And this eco-efficiency can be achieved through various ways. Now, how to achieve this type of eco-efficiency? First, by reducing pollution. There are various types of pollution which we have seen: air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, sound pollution. So if we try to reduce the pollution to large extent, we can get the eco-efficiency. The second type was how we can use the goods which are very durable. That means if we use such type of goods which last for a longer time, we are using less raw materials. And when we use less raw materials, it is adding to eco-efficiency. The third way in which we can attain the eco-efficiency is the alternate raw material. Some alternate raw materials have to be used. We are talking about raw materials. We have to think what we can use instead of wood, what we can use instead of metals. Instead of wood, many times it was seen that the rice straw or the wheat straw also can be used. Instead of metals, we can use plastic, which are more durable. So these are the type of alternate raw materials which can be used. The fourth type by which we can have an eco-efficiency is the reuse, recycle. There are 3 R's policy which everyone can follow: reuse, reduce, and recycle. If we can actually reuse the things which we are using, that suppose we are using a plastic, and if I am not needing that plastic in that particular product, I can reuse in some other way or recycle. The plastics, the glass, the polythene bags can be recycled to save energy. So these are the ways how the eco-efficiency can be attained. The eco-efficiency, what it leads to? It leads to sustainable development. But how this sustainable development can be achieved? It can be achieved by some ways which are pointed out here. First is the population control. As the population increase, the demand increase. When the demand increase, more and more raw materials are used. So this is one of the way where the people have to be made aware. If population is controlled, we can actually have the sustainable development possible in our country. Second is consumerism. Consumerism, as I had told you, when you go to a supermarket, you want to buy 5 things, but you end up in buying 15 things. So that is the wastage of your money, wastage of your raw material, wastage of your time, wastage of your energy. So in this way, we are wasting so much raw material which is not required by us. So this consumerism will hamper or will stop the development which we want. This is the second way where we have to limit our buying power. Third, the conservation of energy is required. At home, at individual level, at your student, in the student life, as a student, what you can do to conserve energy. The small things which you can do to conserve energy, which we had listed out. At home, at school, put off the lights and fans when you are not in using. At homes, when you don't want the PCs to be on or TV you are not watching, you can put it off. You can see for the leakage in the water pipes. Small things where we can recycle the paper. Can we use the paper one-sided if it is blank? Such type of small activities or small things, if the children are aware, they can do to conserve energy. The fourth way is a decision making. Now this decision is made by Government of India, international community. They are thinking of various ways to conserve energy. There are various ways in which the laws can be made, people can be made aware how to develop the habit of conserving energy. So this decision making actually is done by the people of Government of India, or if we are talking about international community, there are various commissions set up for that, for environmental protection. So this one of the method is the decision making which is done at the community level. This is enforced by various acts and laws. Various acts and various laws are put up by Constitution of India. And our country is one of the very few countries who is actually thinking of conservation of energy, or how to conserve energy, what will happen if we conserve energy, and how it will help in the environment. They have made various laws, and these laws are strictly enforced. If it's strictly enforced, it will make a very big difference in our country. In our country where the people are wasting so much water, people are actually human beings are creating pollution in various ways. So various laws and various acts were formed. First act which was formed was Water Act in 1974. This Water Act was made to conserve water. As I was saying, for sustainable development of environment, various laws and acts have been proposed and implemented by Constitution of India. Our constitution is the one of the very few constitution of the world where so much importance and acts and laws have been made for conservation of environment. What are those laws? What are the acts? These acts which we should know, because as a student you should be able to understand which law and which act is there for water conservation, environment conservation, or different type of conservation. In 1974, the Water Act was made by Constitution of India. What does this Water Act say? The Water Act is actually telling us about how to conserve water and why there is a need to conserve water. Out of 70% water on this earth, only 7% is fresh water. Out of 7%, only 3% is water which we can consume. And if we do not conserve the water, one fine day there will be no water left for us. Such is a situation in whole world, and it is being said that next world war can be for water. So we have to conserve water, and every student, every individual should know the importance of conserving water. That is why this Water Act was laid down in 1974. So Air Act in 1981 was launched by Constitution of India. This Air Act, what does it say? It says that we have to implement some laws so that the pollution of air can be controlled. There are a lot of things which are polluting air. The use of fossil fuels has to be reduced so that the pollution of air can come down. And for this Air Act in 1981 was launched. So the Air Act is basically to reduce the air pollution and to maintain the quality of air. Then the e-waste rules in 2011. This is the latest rules which have been put up by the Constitution. E-waste. E-waste means the waste which is coming from the computers, laptops, refrigerators, microwave ovens, mobile phones. After use, if they are not working, it is just thrown away and they might become hazardous. So there are various rules which are laid down for the manufacturers, especially that they have to see the quality and they have to know how to dispose of these type of electronic goods. And this was e-waste rules which was implemented in 2011. In 1998, the Environment Act was launched. This act was launched after the famous Bhopal gas tragedy. Actually, I should not say famous, it was a tragic incident. And in that incident, number of people had died. After that, the various laws, various rules were laid down because the chemical factory through which that gas was leaked was in the middle of the city. And so various laws were put up so that such poisonous gases which are made should be made outside the city and not inside the city. This type of Environment Act also conserves the quality of air, the quality of soil, which is very useful raw material for us. And this act has to be implemented by all the people, and they have to see, and the awareness has to be spread to the people how to conserve the environment. This was the whole lesson in short. Now we are left with one type of pollution, which is the noise pollution. In 2000 year, noise pollution rules were laid down. What are these noise pollution rules? There is so much sound pollution nowadays. The sound of loudspeakers, the sound of vehicles, the sound of various machineries, the sound of you people, those who make so much noise, that is also called as noise pollution. There are various rules laid down by Constitution, and even the Government of India is following that. Between 10 PM to 6 PM, it's not allowed for any loudspeakers to work above some decibels, because it is causing so much problem in sound, and so many people are getting disturbed because of that. So these are the laws, or these are the rules which were laid down by Government of India. This concept map will make you much clear about the environmental sustainable development which is so much required in this era.